Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are just joining us, welcome as well, and I'm super excited that you are here. Obviously things are a little bit different, as in my scenery. I am recording this outside. It's literally propped up against my car so that I can get this video recorded before tomorrow. And everything with my house, if you follow me on other platforms, is a bit of a hot mess right now, so we're outside. As you know, I recently decided to release Soul Jumper, and I'm going to be doing so on October 6th, and I'm very excited about that. But prior to deciding to self-publish, I was in the trenches of querying, and if you've been there, you know it's a rough place to be. So I thought it would be fun and hopefully helpful to share some of the things that I learned since querying, in case you are thinking about starting that process to be traditionally published, or you're going through that process right now, or you are weighing your options. What, buddy? So today I'm going to cover the 10 things, or 10 of the things that I learned while querying. It's a long list. This is tip of the iceberg stuff here. So if you have questions, please always ask. I would be happy to help you in any way that I can. If you're trying to decide self-published versus traditional, or you're starting the traditional route and have questions. So number one on my list is there's no wasted time. It is really easy to feel like everything is taking so long and you're wasting your time, and find yourself wondering, what am I doing? This isn't going anywhere, things like that. But just recognize that in the process you are learning and things are happening, even if it seems like they're not. So look back after a few weeks, after a few months, and reflect on those things, and keep reminding yourself that you're not wasting your time, because it's easy to feel like you are sometimes. Okay, 2 and kind of 3-ish, I don't know, it would be 11 points if I separated them, but I made 2 and 3 kind of the same point. That being that you need to treat querying as a time to build relationships. Do not think about it as like a means to an end. It's not, oh, I have my agent and now this is over. No. Take the time to build relationships with these people. Research the agents online, on their websites. Know something about them. And then when you have that initial communication with them, make sure you're super polite. Make sure you're very professional, because the kind of third-ish point I was rolling into here is it's a very small world. Very small. Okay, these agents, they talk to each other. They do things together in terms of like conferences and things. And most of them know each other, especially agents within the same genre. So you want to make sure you are being your best self. I've seen agents post about emails they've gotten on Twitter, and seen, you know, hey, this person or that person. So don't be that person. Be respectful, be polite, thank them for their time. Be the person that whenever, if they maybe said no or not right now to this book, when you send them your next book, they don't look at your name and think, I want nothing to do with that. Okay, one of the things I did, point number 3, is use Excel to keep track of everything I was doing. And I can send this to you if you're interested in the template that I set up for myself, but it essentially has the agent's name, the agency, the date that I queried them. I also recorded the time I sent out my query letters. You don't really need to do that, but I was kind of just curious on times and when I'd get responses and what times those would be. So it was kind of like side data collection. And I color coded it so that I knew, have I heard back from this person? Was it a no? Was it a partial request, a full request? And what date did that happen? Also, I had a column, because a lot of the agencies will tell you on their website, if you don't hear from us in 6 weeks or 12 weeks, it's a pass. And so I put those dates in there. You know, I sent it this date. Okay, if I don't have anything by whatever date, I know it's a no. And I could change the color at that point. So it was a good way for me to keep track of the people I was talking to and how many times I've spoke with them and things like that. Okay, the other thing, point number 4, suggestions are really great, but you don't have to take every suggestion. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, this one was hard for me. When I got back suggestions from people, beta readers or agents, it was hard for me not to just do every single thing they said. Okay, but remember that it's your book and it's your story and you get to tell it however you want. And so you kind of have to decide where that line is for you. If they're saying something and you're like, I'm just not vibing with that, or that's not really the point I was trying to make or trying to get across, don't make the change. Obviously, there are some things that, you know, grammar, spelling, things like that. Make those changes. But if they're big content things to the plot of your actual story, you get the final say in that. And so just remember that just because you're getting feedback from all different types of people doesn't necessarily mean that that's the direction that you should go. Okay, number 5 is do your research, please. It cannot be said enough. Do your research. Especially in today's world, there are so many things that you need to take into account. When you're addressing an email, how does the agent want to be addressed? Do they want to be addressed by Mr. or Mrs.? Do they prefer their full name? Don't send query letters out that say Dear Agent. It needs to be personalized, but you need to do your research on how they want to be addressed. And most of the time you can find that stuff on their website. You can find that stuff on their wish list. You can find it on their Twitter bio. And it goes beyond that as well. Research how the agent wants you to submit to them. Do they want email attachments? Most of them don't. Most of them want you to copy and paste everything in the email. So it looks really long when you're pasting pages of your book into an email. That's okay. Make sure that you're looking at, do they have a preference in seeing the query letter and then your pages, or they don't care, things like that. Every agent is going to want your submission done a specific way. And so on any agency's website, they will have a place that says submission guidelines. Read those and make sure you're following them. Do your research across the board. Make sure you're submitting to the right type of agent. If you're writing a young adult paranormal romance, which is what I wrote, I don't need to be submitting to people who only take adult submissions and don't do anything with young adult, or be submitting to somebody who clearly states on their wish list they do not want anything paranormal or they don't want romance. So make sure you're reading those things, because it's very important prior to submission that you know you're actually getting your stuff to the right person and in the right way. Okay, I think we are on 6. Number 6 is try different approaches. So still follow the submission guidelines, but try different things. It's okay to rewrite your query letter. It's okay to try things in a different order on the email. It's okay to say, okay, in this query letter, I started with my genre and my word count and my title. I'm going to try this next one and put those things at the end and kind of jump right into my description. So be okay with that. Be flexible. Writing is very subjective, and what's going to grab somebody's attention in one thing might not grab the next person's attention. So that's okay. And I also think it's needed. You know, if you're sending out a bunch of query letters and you're not getting any responses, everyone's saying nothing, either you don't get an email back or they're sending you just straight up no, make some changes. It's okay to do that and send them out again, not to the same agent. Most agents will not take a submission again once they've said no, but you still know that moving forward when you send to another agent. Okay, this one is huge. Keep writing. I got the majority of Encampment and The Man Before You done, my first draft, during my query. Okay, had to take a quick little break because it got super windy outside and actually started thundering a little bit. But jumping back into that last point, keep writing. By the time you reach the query process, you will have looked at your book more times. Like, you're gonna be sick of it. You're gonna be needing a break from it. So do something else. Also, when you're querying, it's tense. when you send those out and you're waiting for responses, you need something to keep you occupied. You will need something to keep your mind off of it, or you will sit there and be hitting the refresh button until you drive yourself nuts. By continuing to write, you're also giving yourself another avenue to pursue if you need it. If things don't work out the way that you want, or you're adamantly against self-publishing, or whatever the case may be, you've moved on to that next project. I've watched a lot of agents talk about how writers sometimes just get stuck, and that's why they never get the writing career that they want, because they refuse to move on to something else. So make sure you have a lot of other things going. Some of them are going to work out, some of them won't. That's okay. But give yourself a lot of different options and continue making yourself better. That's the other thing. The more you write, the better writer you become. And so it's not going to do you any good to write one thing and never change it, never write anything else. So just keep that in mind too as you're kind of going forward. Okay, having a separate email. I highly recommend it. Somebody told me this that was querying, and it was one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got. Because I was teaching at the time, and if you work a full-time job that you get emails from, every time my phone went off, my heart sank. Like, is it an agent responding to me? You know, so get a totally different email. I set up a completely different Gmail account. I literally only use that Gmail account to send out query letters. So when I get an email from that account, I know it's from an agent. And so I don't sign up on any websites using that email. I don't do anything with that email except use it to send out query letters. And I would highly, highly recommend you do that. Keeps everything separate. It's easy to find it. Plus, like I said, every time your phone beeps, you're not having a panic attack. Number 9, I think we're on 9. If you follow bookends, they're amazing. If you don't, you should follow them. They're super incredible, and they always do YouTube videos with tips and stuff, and it's all by agents. So it's actually agents that are giving you these tips and doing these videos, and they're very helpful. So this last tip is something that I learned from them, and that is that you will never be the exception. I don't mean that in a bad way. It kind of ties back into my point of doing your research and making sure you're following submission guidelines. even if you have an incredible book, a book that ends up changing the world, a book that ends up creating its own kind of culture, like Harry Potter, or Twilight, or things like that were these huge phenomenons, you're still not going to be the exception when you're in the query process. Make sure you're doing what they ask you to do and how they ask you to do it. Don't send emails thinking that this is the novel that's going to change our society, so I don't have to follow any of the rules. Follow the rules. Just follow the rules. It's raining?
It's rain!
Oh my goodness. It might start raining, huh?
It is rain!
Alright, and the last one, number 10, before we wrap up, is I highly recommend meeting people face to face when you have the opportunity. The second best option being over video chat. I signed up for a writer's conference. Because of COVID, I wasn't able to go, but I still got a Skype with the agents, and it was amazing because an email is not personable in the sense you don't know anything about that person or their personality or anything. But when you video chat with somebody or you meet them face to face, you kind of get a feel for their personality. You get a feel for who they are as a person and if you'd like to work with them. And a lot of that helps you as an author when you can really be yourself. And so that writing conference was hands down best money ever spent, 100% worth it. If you can attend something like that, I highly recommend it. Every agent I talked to that day requested my book, and more than half of them requested the entire manuscript. That's huge. That's a huge deal. And I fully credit that to the fact that we were video chatting. And so they got to see some of my personality and kind of had a feel for what it would be like if we worked together all the time. And so keep that in mind when you have the chance to meet people face to face, when you have the chance to do video with people, agents, small publishing houses, whatever the case may be. Take the opportunity. So that's what I have for you guys today. Those are my 10 things. Like I said, I have tons more I could add or expand upon. So if you have questions specifically about querying, please reach out to me, and if I can help you, I would love to be able to do that. If you liked this video, if you're following my writing journey, please consider liking it, sharing it, definitely subscribe. That would mean the world to me, and I will be back next Monday. You guys have an incredible week. Let me know in the comments if you're querying and where you're at in the process.